Hello, crafty friends. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Stamp and Create with Beth. I'm Beth Roy, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today is Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. And I'm just going to give it a second, and I'm going to pull up my video here so I can see who pops in. So if you pop in, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. And say hello. Let us get to know you. Hey, Joan. Hello, hello. I had another thing to show you, but in the craziness of my craft room, I have lost it. Oh. So I'm just gonna give it a second. Let me know in the comments what you've been doing. You've been up to. Well, I guess my other card is just lost for the moment. Maybe we'll find it. So today, let me bring you up to speed on what I'm doing. I was very inspired by the June paper pumpkin. It is called Full of Charm. It has this beautiful floral theme that is, and they're watercolored. And while my watercoloring does not look anything like this beautiful watercoloring, I love the colors that they put together. So this is the sneak peek of the June paper pumpkin. You have until June 10th to subscribe. So if you want this box, you're in the US or Canada, you can get the box. I have seen a full card and it is gorgeous. So I'm pretty excited. It does coordinate with a new suite that is releasing in July. It's called Floral Charm and it's very beautiful. It has some florals that are reminiscent of this floral, not exact. But the colors are very vibrant and beautiful. Ooh, fun, Joan. So you're working on a card order. That's awesome. And so a lot of times I like to look at the paper pumpkin color combos. So for the June one paper pumpkin, it's Berry Burst, Cajun Craze, Early Espresso, Mossy Meadow, Pretty Peacock, and Timid Tiger. And I love these colors together. So I used the colors on this. And this is Layers of Beauty. And it has a floral collage, you know, something like that. And I embossed it. So today I'm going to show you how to emboss your image and then watercolor. And I used the old stamp set, Magnolia, Good Morning Magnolia, to do another card. And I wanted to show you because this is on watercolor paper, and then I have this one embossed on the Willow White cardstock. And I wanted to show you the difference, but I can't seem to find my card. So, story of my life, I think, right now. Don't know what happened to it. Didn't know where it went. It is nowhere that I can see. So we'll just have to go with it. The reason why I wanted to show you that is I wanted to show you kind of the difference of using a cardstock like Willow White or Basic White, and how it soaks it up, and you don't really get a smooth look. So it depends on what kind of look you want to have and what you care about. But if you use watercolor paper, so on this one I used, oh, you know what? I just found it. It was under my paper towels. I told you it would be here somewhere. I used the Fluid 100 watercolor paper, and so it takes the water and it moves the ink, and you can blot it up and make things lighter. And so it plays well when you want to watercolor. But if this is all you have, you can still watercolor. My background didn't come out anywhere near like I would like it, and I think I'm going to end up die cutting it because I don't like all of this. But I don't know, it's not horrible. I just I like when it has a smoother edge. So and I didn't take my time. But you can see, like, if it bleeds right here, I can't put water on it and pick this up. It's there. So, you know, it is an option, but it won't give you as much freedom and versatility as watercoloring on the watercolor paper. So, let's see. You guys, you ready to get busy? I'm not sure who else popped in, but let's just jump in, and we're going to create this. So let me, I have a bunch of paper towels. When you watercolor, you can use these ink pads. Our classic inks are water-based, so that's what we're going to do. And I have, oh man, what do I do with them? They're there. I have a bunch of paintbrushes next to me that are different sizes. These are just bought at a craft store anywhere. I actually bought these for my kids, so they're not like really expensive paintbrushes. They're just things I can use. And you will need Versamark ink so you can emboss. I have, in kind of honor of this, I don't know if you how well you can see this outline, but this is an overlay. So these are watercolored, and then this piece lays over it. So it's an outline cutout, if you will, like a die cut. I thought I would do copper embossing for our florals. And then we would watercolor it. So you can use whatever color you have. The embossing powders do come in sets of 3. So clear, white, and black is one set, and silver, gold, and copper is in another set. So I actually have some older powders. I've had mine for a while. I don't heat emboss a ton. So, you know, use what you got. But if you have to buy them, they do come in sets of 3 now. You will need a heat tool to set your embossing. So I have all of that off here to the side. And we're just going to position this. Now this, I did a big full sheet, and then I had to trim off some of my flowers because I didn't really position it very well to go on the front of a card. So you have a smooth side and a textured side. I'm using the textured side. I don't know if it actually matters. I'm not going to even pretend to be an expert on watercoloring or watercolor paper. So I say experiment and see what you like. Okay, I do have this on my stamp positioner because this is a large stamp. So whatever you have, I need to take the magnolia off here. Use that. So I'm just putting my insert back in here for my photopolymer stamp. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down to be the size that I want for the front before I position my stamp set. So we're using this color scheme. And again, here's the sneak peek. You can kind of see. It's a beautiful card. Okay, it's a very, very beautiful card. So while I'm cutting here, why don't we have a little chit chat? Who has shopped already for the BOGO sale? I do want to talk a little bit about it. So I know this video is a technique video, and the sale is from June 3rd, 2025 to June 30th. But I do want to talk a little bit, and I want to encourage you to message me if you need help ordering, because the BOGO sale applies to the suites and the suite products. So any product in a suite is part of the sale, and you buy one, get one 50% off. But the 50% off comes off of the lowest price items. So I really have a strategy for shopping so that I can get the best amount of a discount. I want to maximize that the best I can. So if you need help, I'll tell you the way I'm doing it. Any full suites that I want, I will order in one order so that I actually get 50% off of an entire full suite. If there aren't full suites you want to order, you may want to look at doing a bundle order, a paper order, and then maybe the lesser items order. Like the embossing folders and the ribbons and the embellishments, because if you put all of those things on one order, only the embellishments are going to get 50% off, and that's not going to maximize your dollars. So that's my little tidbit there. And I've actually already wrote my list up, how, like, what I think I want and how I will order them. So if you need help with that, just message me. Hi, Christy. Good afternoon. Okay, so where'd my full pack go? Our watercolor paper comes in 5x7. Okay, so you can look back here. You get 10 sheets. It's 5x7. So you could cut it in half and do smaller. Okay, it would be 5 by 3.5. Okay, or you can do, I think I did this one smaller. This one's 3 3/4. Oh no, I must have done it by 5. No, 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. And I have no idea why I trimmed it this way. I must have messed up on my length somehow. So it's okay though. There's no wrong way for wrong size. Okay, it's however you want it. But I do recommend cutting it first, because how you position your stamp, you know, it depends on if you want any of it hanging off. This is a very large image. So this again is the Layers of Beauty. So I am going to do, this is already 5 inches. So then I can do it by 3 3/4, and it gives me a little smaller piece that I could do a layer on, or you could do it in half by 3.5, and that's your layer. So I'm going to do it by 3 3/4. I just throw my extras over and keep them in my pack. So we're going to stamp on this piece. It is watercolor paper. And we're going to stamp in Versamark. So Versamark ink is a clear ink. Let me get these out of the way for a minute. And it stays wet a little longer. I don't remember exactly what the properties are, but it is not it's not like a water-based, it's not like our Stampin', our classic pads. So this is a different formula. It's a very sticky ink and it stays wet just a little longer so that you can put the powder on it. If you allow it to dry, it becomes kind of a tone-on-tone look. So if you do it on darker paper, it does leave a mark, but it looks more like a watermark or a tone-on-tone look. So I'm going to take this off and reposition it here. If you don't have a stamp positioner tool, you do need block F for this, this stamp. It's very large. I'm not sure where I need my magnets just yet. So you can see it just barely fits on this size. And so I like to kind of look at it and see how I want that to go. I don't want it to hang up. So there are a few pieces that hang off just a little bit, and that's okay, but I'm going to put my magnets on here and pick it up. So you're going to ink with the Versamark, and you might not be able to see it on screen because it is very faint. It's hard to see, but you'll see a wet line. And I'm just tapping this. Like I said, it's a very sticky ink. It's clear. So raise your hand in the comments if you have heat embossed before. And I'm just pressing down. I'm actually bending my desk, pressing so hard. And I'm just kind of looking, and I don't feel like I got it enough. Maybe I waited too long. It does, now I will tell you, I ink it a few times. When I do this on watercolor paper, and I forgot a step, I do this to myself every time, but it's going to be okay, guys. So we have this little kit that has tweezers and this little tray and this, the embossing buddy. So typically, before you put this ink on, you rub your paper with this so that it's completely dry. It's an anti-static powder. And then when you put your Versamark ink on there, that's the only place that your powder sticks, but we're going to go with it because I've already inked it up. It'll be okay. But I don't see anything on my paper, and that's probably because it's soaked in. So I'm just going to ink it some more. And close this. And I don't know if you can see it. It's just barely visible. So I'm actually going to ink it a third time. Now, when you do this on regular paper, you don't have to ink it so many times. And it may be okay. I just feel like it's very faint, and I want my powder to stick, and I want to have a good image to watercolor. So Joan, have you ever heat embossed on the watercolor paper? If you've been crafting for a while, you may have heat embossed. It's a very fun technique. You're going to see why. Okay, that. I'm just making sure because I have a magnet here that this part is connecting. One more time. I can't see very well, so I'm going to stand up. Hopefully I won't block the light too much. Okay, can you kind of see that? I don't know if you can see it at all on the... This looks very faint to me. So I'm going to do a little more ink right there. There we go. I think this flower was missed. Even though I feel like I definitely put ink on it. Okay, we're going to call it good enough. Be very careful when you pick up your paper. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see it, but I like to use extra Versamark ink when I'm doing the watercolor paper. So I'm going to pull in my copper powder here. And I like to keep mine in these little tubs. You can use the tray. If I'm doing a whole bunch of the same things, like a whole bunch of sheets or something, I usually use the tub so I can easily redo it. So I'm just sprinkling this copper powder on my piece, and I'm trying to keep it very close to this bucket because it gets everywhere. And you can see it sticking because I didn't use my anti-stick tool. That's okay. It'll be all right. Just embrace it. And I'm just tapping. So I want to hold it where I have it embossed and just kind of tap it over your tray, or if you have to use grid paper, you can use grid paper. And this can go back into the container, okay? So I'm going to call it good, but there's a few spots here. I'm actually going to take this little tiny paintbrush. Now, this does come with a big paintbrush, but I can't get all these little specks that are really close to my image with the big paintbrush. Oops. So I'm just brushing some of these off. And that's what the embossing buddy does. Kind of, oops. It keeps the powder from sticking all over your page. So we're going to heat that in a minute. So this, I just pour back in my container and put the lid on, and I can reuse it. So as you can see, I have quite a bit, and this is a really old label, so I've had this for a while. And I like these little containers because they stack. So I have all my powders in one, and they stack. Okay, you guys ready? Hey, Vicky. So not on watercolor paper. I think my most challenging thing that I find on this type of paper is I feel like the ink kind of soaks in. So I do recommend inking it more than one time. Also, the powder wants to stick everywhere. So don't forget to do your anti-stick powder, your embossing buddy. It will just be easier. Hey, no worries, Vicky. So it's going to get a little loud. I am turning on my heat tool, and it's like a hair dryer for crafting. So, you guys ready for all the magic? So I just like to let it get hot. I do have it on high. There are tweezers. Let me set this down for a second. There are tweezers in the kit if you want to use the tweezers to hold your paper. So let me put this up here. Hold on, I'm stuck Sorry, I was stuck on a basket. Okay, ready? Here goes the magic. So it might take a minute. You do want to move the air around. So it's blowing really hot air. Don't burn your fingers. Keep your fingers away from it. Here it goes. You guys see it? So you can also heat it from the back. There it goes. So what the heat tool does is it just melts that powder that you've put on to your project. And I like to just move my heat tool around. You don't want to burn your powder. And I'm not going to worry about any of those stray flecks. They're just a design element. Nobody knows if you meant to do that or not. So don't fret over it. It's not going to hurt anything. Now, if it was my greeting, then I would worry. But this is an image, and so you can take a little artistic freedom from that and just have some fun with it. So let me turn this off for a second now. So when you think you're done, you just want to take it and kind of turn it back and forth like this. If you see any dull spots, then that powder has not melted yet and it's not set. So this sets the powder and the outline for the image. So I don't think I missed any. And you'll know, because if you start watercoloring and you hit this powder, you'll know. Okay, so there we go. Any questions? I'm going to try to put this over here and not stick my arm on it. Okay, so I have a cup of water. I have my paintbrushes. I have my ink pads that I want to use. I bring in, so I have this that I just heat embossed on. I'm going to leave it here just to try to keep the glare down. And I usually stick a paper towel or two under my project. So you can see I'm kind of reusing these. That's okay. And I have some for blotting my brush, for blotting my project. And you might want to dry your brush or whatever. So what did I do with my card? So we're going to start off with this, and I'm going to do the orange first. Now, I didn't use a lot of Cajun Craze on this, but you're going to see when you start watercoloring with some of the colors, they are not the same as when you stamp with them. So it's kind of fun. Okay, so let's start with Timid Tiger. I like to press my pad really hard and get ink in the top of the lid. If you do not like doing that, and I do have one of these ink refills on the way, but if you don't like to do that, you can take a block and press it into your ink pad and grab some of the ink. Okay, you can also use a re-inker. So that is our Timid Tiger. And let's see, which size brush do I want to use? That one's kind of getting a little frayed on me. Let's try this little one. I'm just going to grab, first I'm going to move that out of the way. Let me pull my water up here so I'm not sloshing it all over everything. And I'm just going to grab some of this ink and pull it into the middle of my block. And so you see it's very light, okay? But you can also grab right off of your ink pad. So I'm going to leave this open just in case I need it, because I can always grab off of here and it's darker. See? So you can have different tones. Okay. Now you can come right onto the paper and put water on your rose. That's going to help move our color. So I'm just adding water where the rose petals are. That's the only place I want color to go. If you get too much, you just use a paper towel and pick it up. And I'm not worried about if it's perfect or if it goes out of the lines or any of that, okay? So I'm going to grab some of this Timid Tiger and I'm just going to add it and see how it just started going where the water was, where I laid that water. So obviously if I dab right there, it's going to go right there, but it's not moving. So when I put the water on, it helps it spread. And I want to have a little variation. I'm going to try to have it a little lighter. So this one I did pretty dark. I'm going to try to leave my petals a little lighter toward the ends. And because I've embossed the outline, I can just go over top of it. You don't have to. It does dull it. It's not really dull, but you'll see. It just looks a little wet. So when it dries, it'll be fine. Now, if you want to add in Cajun Craze, you can do this. I got a lot down there. And the water, putting this water in your ink pad lid is not going to hurt this. This is water-based ink, okay? So you're not, if you don't like the messy, use the block. So this doesn't bother me, but if it does you, just put a little on your block and do the block, okay? So and you can mix your two colors if you want. I'm going to pick up some of this and I'm just going to go around some of the petals. And if you want it darker, you can just grab a little bit of that ink off the middle and go direct to your image. And it's going to give you a really concentrated color. And you can still thin it out. So don't worry about if it's too much. You can still thin it out a little bit. So like I said, I'm not an expert at this, but I do like to play, and I love these colors. I got it a little dark, but that's okay. I'll show you how I'm going to lighten it up a bit. Okay, so I put Cajun Craze on. So if you do something and you don't like the color, you can just press it on. You can get a little bit of water, and this is going to move. That's the beauty of the watercolor paper. See, it took most of the color off that I laid down. You can just keep adding water, get it wet, and it will move. So I'm going to add some more Timid Tiger here. I loved the water painters too. I was very sad to see that the company that made those were not making them anymore. I thought they were a great product. And I do still have some sets of mine, but just adding some darker orange back into the middle here. So a little lighter than this one, but that's okay. See, I don't know if you could see how wet it was. I actually have water moving, oops, on that piece. So I'm gonna just dab it a little, and you can always go back in and add more, okay? But I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit, and I may do a second layer of the orange. To clean this, just wipe it off. Super easy. Okay, my next color, I'm gonna do these little daisy flowers, and I'm gonna use Berry Burst. And I have quite a bit in my lid, so I'm just gonna use that. Let me see, I'm gonna try this little tiny brush. So I'm just gonna come in here and thin out this color and grab some of it. And some of these are very thin spaces. So my brush is quite wet. And what I did was I just blotted it after I did my coloring. So not quite as much space to watercolor on those. And like I said, you can just take a clean area of your towel and you blot it a little bit, and it can lighten it up. And if you want it lighter, add a little bit more water. So if I wanted this to be a little lighter, I'm just going to add some water over top of it. Maybe this one too. And I'm not worried about the middles because I'm going to I'm going to paint those brown with the espresso. So there is that. Now, moving right along, I'm going to do Mossy Meadow. And my Mossy Meadow is not super dark. I don't know. It's a great color. So you can use your re-inker, which I'm going to grab mine and just put a little dot in my lid. So if you have your re-inkers, you can just take a little bit and drop a little dot in your lid. And that's going to give me a more concentrated color to work with. Now I'm just cleaning my brush here, making sure it doesn't have orange in it. Then I'm going to drop some down in there. And I like to clean my brush a little bit before I get started. So if you want it a little bit lighter, you can really thin that out. It's pretty dark. Just gonna put some water on here. You can see my water's tinted because I didn't clean my brush. That's okay. So it actually looks a lot lighter. That's okay. We're going to go back over top of it. Now this leaf, I did not put water on the bottom before I added the color. So you can kind of see the difference there and how that kind of plays together. The water just kind of helps it lightens the color a little bit. So has anyone watercolored recently? I really love the look of it. I'm not real good at getting exactly how I want it to look, but I love it when other people do it. And I love it when our papers have this kind of look to it. And really when I'm watercoloring, I am okay with if it's not exactly in line. I feel like it kind of goes with the idea of watercoloring, is that it goes outside the lines a little bit. So if you want it to, let me fold this over. If you want some of these to be a little darker, I'm just patting on it and picking up some of that, the wetness, but you can see the variation here just by using different amounts of water. But if you want to go back, you can get your brush wet again and go back in and add more. And if you want it to be a little darker, you can use less water. So I'm just adding a little more green. And if you want it really dark, pull from the ink pad. That's what I just did there. Now I'm just going to dab it again. And you just want to be careful. I'm not being very careful. I know I have colors everywhere. Okay, now I have 2 colors left. Before I do those, I'm going to dry this a little bit with my heat tool. Vicki, I understand. It's hard to stay on task in your craft room. Joan, you don't have the patience. You might be able to do this though, right? So I'm drying it just a little bit with my heat tool. I feel like I want to go back and add some darker color to that orange. So it is dry. I may do that in a second. First, I'm just going to come in with some of this early espresso. My poor little paintbrush here. And I'm just adding some of that early espresso to the flower middle. Now, let's see. I'm going to do the background, and this is where it gets really fun, I think. I'm just gonna, I'll use this one. So I'm just gonna pick a brush, and I'm using Pretty Peacock for the background. I'm just saying, I think if you feel like you don't have the patience for it, I think the embossed image method works really well. Okay, so I'm going to grab some of my water here and thin this out. I love Pretty Peacock watercolored. Now I'm just cleaning my brush, and I'm going to load it up with water, and I'm going to go around my image. And I'm just going to do this section right here. So I'm getting everything wet around the images where I want the water to go and create a background. So I don't want to touch the leaves. Whoop, I might have touched the flower there. I'm trying not to touch a flower. Okay. And I'm just adding a lot of water there. Now I'm going to pick up some ink, and I'm just going to dab it and see how it just moves. So I just want it to go where I put the water. And these little things that are heat embossed that don't have any color on it, they're fine. Now, something like down here, I want it to be a little darker. So you can see it move. And it's going to stop moving where I didn't put water. And you can leave white space. I have a hard time leaving white space, but you can. So now I'm going to put some water over on this side. So I dried it, and these other elements aren't wet anymore. So that's also the beautiful thing about the watercolor paper, is you can do this. And I've seen some very talented watercolor artists create beautiful backgrounds. So I'm just adding water to that background, and then I'm picking up my color. It's going to move and flow everywhere that I put that water. And I'm just going to move around my image and keep repeating the same thing. almost there, friends. So I'm kind of like, I don't like to spend a lot of time, but I do like to have some fun with it. I like the organic look of the edge and the way I can get it to blend in there. Anywhere you kind of want it to spread out a little bit more, or you just add some more water. I just love how it moves. Now I'm grabbing right from the ink pad and I'm causing it to just kind of spread and create some dark spots. Okay. Now let me move those out of the way. I'm going to get a new paper towel here. I want to blot my background. What do you think? Now I'm going to add in some more of that, I'm going to add in some more Tim & Tiger, maybe even some Cajun Craze. I want my flowers to be more vibrant. So I pulled those two colors back out. And I'm getting dangerous here. I have them every which way. Grab this one that I used earlier. It's a little smaller than that white one. You know what? I want a little more water. Okay. Aw, thank you, Joan. And Vicki. What about adding pumpkin pie or peach pie? Yes, you most certainly could do that. I think you, Vicki, I was showing in my intro. No, I've lost it. Let me see if I can find it. So the reason why I chose these colors is I was, and you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that reflection. It is wet. And if I had a lot of loose water, it would actually roll around on my paper there. So I was trying to mimic this, showcasing that beautiful new paper pumpkin and sweet that is coming. And I used the colors from the paper pumpkin. So if you don't have Timid Tiger or Cajun Craze, you certainly could use the pumpkin pie, the peach pie. I mean, just to make it fun, you could even throw in a pink there. Calypso Coral is a pinky orange, so you could definitely throw one of those in. So that's how I created this. And this one turned out lighter than this one. I think that's okay. I like how they all turn out a little different. So I am going to hit this with my heat tool again. I want it to dry so that we can make it into a card. Oh, thank you. I love this color combo too. So you notice my paper is warped from all the heating and water and everything. And just be careful when you heat this. If you heat this to dry it, your embossing powder reactivates. Okay. So yeah, this turned out a little different. I think if I'd added a little more Cajun Craze, like full force down in there, I might have gotten a little bit darker. But I just try to get some variations. I think I used a lot more Cajun Craze and then used my paper towel to bring some of it back up, and that gives that darker orange. And then I made this into a thinking of you. Now here's what I recommend. I stamped mine. I got impatient and this part was still wet and I stamped mine. That's the other reason, if you want to make a card right away, that you can dry part of it if you're going to stamp right onto your layer without using a paper layer. It looks okay. You can just tell that it did spread a little bit. So I have a cardstock base here. That's Pretty Peacock. And I'm just going to grab Whisper White for the inside. So I might have to dry that just a little bit more. And to be safe, I'm going to get this water away from my project here. I still have tape. If you watched my scrapbooking video, I still have tape on my glass mat here. So I'm going to try to avoid that as well. You haven't tried watercolor paper? So I'm just trying to make sure this is dry, okay? And if you're worried about it, you could use a stamp positioner tool, okay? So this is going to go on the front, and I don't know which direction I want it. I kind of like it like that. but we need to figure out what we're going to stamp on here. So let me grab out my white layer here while we're thinking about it. Now, the watercolor paper is not white, but it's not quite very vanilla. So you could use either thing for the inside of your card, whatever you want to do. The other thing I like to do, let me pull some things out of the way here, is to help this kind of calm down and flatten. I take a clean block and I put it over top. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to adhere it on the inside. What kind of card do we want to finish this as? So you could leave it plain on the front. You could stamp a small greeting. You could add a layer if you wanted. So this is just a regular card base, 8.5, 5.5 by 8.5, and the 8.5 side is scored at 4 1/4 or folded in half. If you have the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, though, it has both blades. It has a cutting blade and a scoring blade. I have some little frays here, so I'm just going to use my, this is an adhesive remover, but it works great on if you have a little frayed edge on your cardstock. Hello, or just a note. Make it landscape with the flowers facing that direction. I mean, like this. Yep, that can work too. So this is a portrait card. This is a landscape card. And before you adhere this down, you'll notice my background, this background came out different than this one. It's all about how much water you use and how intense the ink is. Obviously, if you come right off the ink pad, it's more concentrated than if you've added water to it. But before this is adhered down, you can always go back and adjust it. You can pick it up and say, oh, I really don't like how light that was, and get a wet brush, add a little water, and kind of reactivate that. I love it. I love how it just comes out organic and not the same every time. So with this set, it has some really pretty greetings. If you need anniversary cards, I love this little God bless and grateful for you. So that comes in the set. I also have this other beautiful set. I love this. So this has celebrate. You could stamp happy birthday on the inside. This also has just a note and hello. So when you're planning your greeting, if your card is like this, and I like to have a wider border when I'm doing a colored cardstock, you could have cut this a little longer, so it could have been cut a little bit differently. If you wanted it to be 4 1/4 by 5, you could have cut the 5-inch side to 4 inches and cut the 7-inch side to 5 1/4. But I like this size, so. So if we had celebrate, you could stamp it up here. There's hello in this set, which I love. It could go anywhere on this card because it's small. And there's also just a note. And it could go maybe in this corner or up here. Hello could go anywhere. This also has a you've been on my mind. Thinking of you. That's where this thinking of you came from. And it has a thank you for everything. And I don't typically like adding anything to my thank you. So you could try to ink this up. It would be really close. But you could try inking it up where it's just the thank you. Sorry, this is upside down. So, what do you guys think? Now, I do want to say, I like to use just a note because I feel like the inside could become birthday. It could become thinking of you. It could be thank you. So I do like to do just a note. So let's do that one. But yes, this theme, this type of card would work for a lot of occasions. So you could just pick whatever your favorite colors are, whatever stamp sets you have, and stamp away. And I cleaned this block off with my paper towel, and that's what I am going to use to pick up my stamp. Okay. And a fun little fun fact here. This is not black ink. It is Secret C. So that's what I used for my greeting color. Let me get some things out of my way here before I stamp this. I'm actually going to move this because this is all wet and wrinkly. It's been wet. And so I want to make sure I get a nice impression here. So I'm actually going to put just a note right up here. And I have been inking these in Versamark and then Secret C, but we're just going to go with it. So I'm pulling it down to me just so I can kind of see. Just a note. And if it's not dry, you will know because your letters will start smearing. They'll spread out. So I put a white piece in here. You could stamp a flower or something on the inside that matches from the set. It has a small flower. Let's do that. Grab this small flower outline. You do not have to add color. You can just stamp something fun. There we go. Now, I want to adhere this with strong adhesive. We've added water to it. We've heat embossed it. So I prefer the liquid glue. You can use tear and tape. You just want to make sure you have the edges. It will buckle up. So I don't want it to squish out, which I probably have a little too much, but you want to make sure you get along your edge. And I like to adhere it when it's flat. So get it where you want it to go. Press it down. And make sure that you don't smear your greeting that you just stamped. And then if you feel like it needs a little help and a little time, you can put, this is just the E block, or you could use the F block because you would have to have that out to stamp with that large floral image. And if it's clean, I just like to lay it right on top. And it helps give a little pressure to that layer and let it adhere to the base. There we go. So we have our just a note, and on the inside you can put happy birthday, thinking of you, just because, hey, I thought of you today and I wanted to say hi. Or thank you for everything. I've been to a ton of grad parties, and you know, if you helped somebody with, or somebody helped you with your relative's grad party, maybe your son or grandson or daughter or whomever, sending a thank you, thanks for your help, thanks for your support would be really, really nice. So thank you guys for popping in and making a card with me. I hope you've enjoyed this technique. of heat embossing and then watercoloring on the watercolor paper. If you have any questions, feel free to comment on the video. If you watch the replay, it is available for 30 days on Facebook, and then this will be uploaded to YouTube. So if you're watching over on YouTube, feel free to say hi, and if you have any questions, just comment on the video. Thank you for all the love. Everybody have a beautiful day. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.